aliens have always fascinated me, and the pyramids are probably the most fascinating monument on the planet, so I just had to make this video. Now I want to start out by saying that this theory, and it is just a theory, often gets labelled as anti-African. And look, there's definitely a strong contingent of people out there who propose this with the aim of discrediting Africa's incredible history. I've already discussed one theory on the pyramids that firmly fits into that category. But just stick around to the end of this video because there are so many ancient monuments around the world that seem to defy explanation in so many ways. It's really fascinating. So let's just start out with the basic theories. Firstly, there's the idea that aliens literally came down from space and built the pyramids. Then there's the, I guess you could call it, slightly more nuanced theory that at some point in history, alien DNA was spliced into our own, creating some kind of human-alien hybrid. Now these hybrids would have almost been the overseers of the construction, providing assistance where necessary. This is used as an explanation as to why depictions of the pharaohs, who were very much humans like you and me, seem to look distinctly unhuman, with an almost godlike air to them. So as I've said before, there are definitely some elements of the pyramid construction that we do seem to understand with a fair amount of certainty, but there are just so many mysteries surrounding them that it's unsurprising that aliens have been floated as a possible explanation. Now the evidence that literally surrounds the pyramids, like the massive burial grounds where tens of thousands of workers were laid to rest, would seemingly have to be ignored if we were to just say, right, that's it, aliens built the pyramids, case closed. So that brings us on to the theory that aliens assisted the construction of the pyramids. Now why might this be true? Well, let's look at the sheer mind-boggling numbers. In previous videos I've talked about the immense scale and precision of the pyramids. The Great Pyramid alone is estimated to weigh around 6 million tons, consisting of individual bricks weighing up to 15 tons each. Now I will talk about the more accepted theory of highly skilled workers constructing the pyramids later in this series, but it's just astonishing to me that the most awe-inspiring construction in the history of humanity would have been planned out with a simple plumb line and built with pretty primitive copper tools. Copper, of course, being a fairly soft metal. Now, we don't even think they used wheels to move these stones. Remember, around 15 tons each. Not to mention the 130 granite blocks which sit above the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. Each block weighs up to 70 tons, and they're placed 210 feet above the base of the pyramid. There is actually one theory out there about how a ramp could have been used to get all of those blocks so high up, but all standard theories of ramps would make it physically impossible, unless of course the ramp was itself literally miles long, and in that case it would require more building material than the pyramid itself, so clearly impractical. And of course no evidence of a ramp has ever been discovered. Not to mention that all of the limestone and granite blocks were perfectly constructed so that the Great Pyramid and the other two pyramids of Giza all align perfectly to true north. And not only that, they also seem to align with Orion's belt in the Orion constellation. Now, it must be said that this alignment isn't perfect, but Graham Hancock, who we've talked about before in this series, argues that that's actually the point. As the Earth wobbles on its axis, a cycle which takes 26,000 years to complete, the position of the stars in the sky slowly changes. Now, every 72 years, there is a 1-degree shift in the position of the stars. And we can use this consistent change to realign the stars with the pyramids and actually work out when they were built. So this was a principle that was actually utilized in the Boulder Dam, or the Hoover Dam in the United States. The architect included an image of the night sky, basically a star map, and this shows the positioning of the stars at the time of the construction. So no matter how far you go into the future, civilizations will always be able to use that map to work out precisely when the dam was built. So what does this mean for the pyramids? Well, we've established that the stars appear to shift 1 degree every 72 years. If we then wind back the clock to the time when Orion's belt was in perfect alignment with the pyramids of Giza, this would make them around 12,500 years old. So they would have been built around the time of the last ice age. Much older than the standard estimates of 4,500 years, which for me just makes the whole thing even more mysterious. And there's more. In my Pyramid Facts video, I pointed out that the precise coordinates of the sarcophagus within the King's Chamber actually gives us information about the universe, such as the precise speed of light, which scientists wouldn't discover until centuries later. And there's still more. The dimensions of the pyramids seem to share a lot in common with other pyramids that are found halfway around the world, almost as if they were built with a shared knowledge. If you measure the base of the Pyramid of the Moon in Mexico, you find it matches the height of the Great Pyramid in Giza, and the Menkori Pyramid, the smallest one in Giza, is exactly the same height as the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico. And by the way, these measurements are believed to align perfectly with the harmonic frequency of the universe itself, 432 Hz. And this is the reason why I don't think that this theory must be anti-African. It just seems so difficult to wrap my head around the idea that any human civilization could have had such a detailed knowledge of the precise numbers of the universe so far ahead of the scientific age, let alone multiple civilizations across the world. And that's not to say that they didn't. They may well have, but it just seems so astonishing. There also seems to be a lot of depictions of UFOs in artwork throughout history. And the reason why this is fascinating to me is that when we think of people having contact with aliens, the first assumption is that this is a crazy person, but also that it's a fairly recent phenomenon, maybe within the last 50 to 100 years. But these paintings could suggest otherwise. In this one, for example, we see Jesus' crucifixion, and in the background there are clearly some form of beings in the sky. Now these figures are said to have been commonplace in artworks of the time. Now it's said that these are symbolic of the sun and the moon, but any form of art is always open to interpretation. That's just the nature of art. And there's also this one where in the background we can see a man looking up at something in the sky, which there doesn't seem to be an explanation for. Now this is of course just me speculating, and that has been the case for most of this video. But what if all ancient religions and experiences with God were actually experiences with aliens? Or even the other way around. Basically, what if they are one and the same thing? If we were visited by a being who performed acts that we believe to be impossible, alien or angel, would we actually be able to tell the difference? Now, if we were to say that gods helped to build the pyramids, it would probably equally be laughed at by science. But in terms of cultural respect, it would be an idea that's far more protected than that of aliens. But as I said, what if they're just different words to explain the same concept? Now, as I've said, I don't think this theory is necessarily anti-African. That is undoubtedly part of it, but for the most part, I think you could say there might just be a level of arrogance about our modern civilization in that we're seen as the pinnacle of humanity. So any people who came before us were intrinsically less capable than we are. But that being said, from a scientific point of view, there's almost certainly life on other planets. The probability of us being alone in the universe is so overwhelmingly small that it could be possible for humanity to have some kind of interaction with them in the past. And given that the pyramids seemingly have such a deep connection to the universe, it just makes you wonder whether they could be some kind of marker or imprint of something otherworldly. But look, as I said, it's just a theory, and I'm constantly fascinated by the endless possibilities of the universe. I don't necessarily believe or disbelieve this one, but there's no way I could overlook it. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go and check out the rest of this series all about the mysteries of the pyramids. I've put the playlist right here for you so you can go and binge it to your heart's content. And I'll see you there.